friends, and welcome to TFT Tarot for today. This is Goth Tarot, my exploration into shadowy, darker images, philosophies, hopes or dreams, feelings, resonances, to help you get through the week and understand maybe why you feel the way you do. We do this with a card reading with pulls from a number of decks that all have more darker Gothic kind of themed imagery, and I try to interpret as such. I use a loose framework of several categories, and then I pull the cards to kind of match that. So let's get started. So the first deck we use is the Murder of Crows, a fabulous newer deck. And we seek to find what is known as the dark design. That's the overall environment or focus of this week's reading. And I might add, this is the week starting on May 18th and going through the 24th, next Tuesday. And I tend to film these a day, maybe two ahead of time. So if it always looks like I'm squabbling over the dates, that's kind of why. All right, so let's give them a better shuffle here on my table. As best I can. It's kind of a long, thick deck. So as I mentioned, the dark design is all about the focus of this week and or the environment or situations that seem to be at hand. I've drawn the reversed Eight of Swords. This card tells me that the dark design this week is about maybe finally breaking out of some fetters that have been kind of oppressing you, things that have held you back, but mostly have made you hold yourself back, that maybe there were doubts, recriminations, or just not the confidence you needed to believe in yourself, and that you felt more like you wanted to remain somebody's prisoner. So it's a Gothic version of the Stockholm Syndrome, where you just sort of feel like whatever it is that is imprisoning you, you're willing to kind of just let it happen, you know, and maybe even come to admire or respect or subliminally somehow have emotional attachment to the person or the thing or situation that is entrapping you. So how did this happen? Is it just happening? Has it been going on for a while? What are the dark details here? And I feel that you are actually coming out of this process, that maybe this idea of the entrapment is over. For I have pulled the Crow of Dawn, and that signifies the sense of this being an ending, you know, dusk. It's the Crow of Dusk, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The Crow of Dusk. So it's the sense of it ending. It's the sense of it no longer having that power, that it is moving into some other kind of situation there. Now I also pull another dark detail card to indicate how this process affects us. Does it affect us externally because we have to put our physical actions or moves or pressure or strength into it? Or is it something that affects us subconsciously, more in our subconscious psychological areas that maybe are registering this as a trauma? And I have pulled the Crow Father that says this is kind of an external thing. This is something maybe that we're finding is happening and that we're putting our physical actions into it. So this idea of maybe breaking off the fetters may mean that there is a symbolic but physical action you may feel you have to take here to do this. And so it could be as elaborate as just finally telling that person to stop oppressing you, or that they don't have this control over your lives. It could also be too, though, that maybe you have to do, your own sort of ritual or meditation to make yourself feel free too. So regardless of how that happens, that's an interesting focus for this week, to try to free ourselves from what's going on. So as we're working on doing that, though, we have to ask, what is it that will remain? What is it that will haunt us about this situation? The thing that maybe it's a lesson, or maybe it's just some sort of regret or memory that sort of imprints us. And so for that, I use the Goth Tarot by Lo Scarabeo. And it's a perfect deck for hauntings, for things that are psychically remaining with us and hard to banish. All right, so what is haunting us? What will remain? And it's the upright Four of Cups. And this time, of course, it's a spirit that seems to be offering, the choices that one may have to look at here. But I would say what remains, perhaps, is all the things that maybe we feel we're leaving behind. They're trapped. Maybe the other people or other situations that didn't quite break free, and that maybe we're bothered by that, the sense that there's others we could have helped. Maybe it's even, just sort of other aspects of ourselves that don't have that ability to make a choice and move in the other direction, that maybe we can figure out how to free ourselves from these chains, and it's a physical action we need to do. But maybe there are things that can't be done that way, that maybe they are embedded in us for spiritual, psychic, emotional reasons. And so that may remain, the idea that we may always worry that a part of our freedom or our being unfettered is still back there, considering what the choices are. All right, so now I move to the Night Sun Tarot. And I'm seeking two ideas here. The first one is, what is the dark truth? What is the reality, or how can you actually view this reality and kind of just put it in its own concise overall form? It's not the same as the dark design. It's really saying it's influenced by these other matters up to now. What is the dark truth? What is the reality that you now will find yourself inhabiting? And maybe, of course, because it's an ending, then maybe it's where you're going from here. It's the Hierophant reversed. the reality is that you're always going to be goth, unconventional, not ever totally willing to work with the conventions of society and or conformity. It's not like it haunts you. It's not like it's the focus. It's just the reality that nothing will really change you, and that maybe there is a negatory value to you moving on. That the sides of conformity are unchanging, but so are we here on the other side of that. Is there some liminal area in the middle there where sides could come together? And in the matter of how you feel fettered but have now found a way to break free, or are moving towards that, or have been moving towards that, is this saying that this was a reaction against the conventionality, the conformity that the Hierophant upright normally talks about? That all of this is really about dealing with societal expectations to some degree. That's kind of a strong part of the Hierophant. All right, so then we have another card from the Night Sun Tarot. It's the Dark Sacrifice. It's those sorrows you may have to bear. It's those things you may feel you have to give up in order to achieve something better, whether you actually do or not. And it's another reversed Major Arcana, Temperance. It's Temperance reversed. So the sorrows you bear, the sacrifice you need to give up, is maybe the sense that all of this represents a big imbalance, a big immoderation, that no matter where we are, Christian not, Muslim not, gay not, black not, Asian not, abled not, wherever we lie in this spectrum, we have to find balance. Even if we feel pain or extreme reluctance, even we Goths need to find a way to find that middle ground in order to be able to move. We can no longer be the children of the night, the hidden children. And that goes the same for everybody else that's dealing with their own areas of not being accepted by the greater society. And I'm just going to get slightly political or relevant and just talk about the recent mass shootings that seem to be involved about hatred against minorities or fears of minorities. And I think this sort of goes along with that too, that maybe people who walk a Goth journey do feel oppressed by the greater society, or by the part of the society that wants conformity. We have to find ways to express ourselves and figure out how everybody could come to a consensus. And I'll admit it, it's not going to be everybody that will be able to do that. Not even on our side. The side that maybe views itself as being progressive or being not in tune with that sort of side that is walking from the supremacy angle. So I'm sorry if that bothers people. We'll bring it up again. But you know, when you look at all this, then of course, my perfect lead into saying, What is there here that is really draining us? What is it that sucks? What are the dark shadows? And I pull those from the Vampire Tarot. But negative drainage, psychic vampirism, things that suck that we have to accept. How can we deal with those? Or how can we identify them to really figure out how to stay away from them or somehow make them not matter? I think this position just tells us what they are. It's the reversed Two of Pentacles. The dark shadows, or the dark spiral, I'm sorry, that which really sucks is that this is really going to be very hard. The Two of Pentacles talks about a lot of imbalance operating between dualities, and it's rough. I can't really add a lot to that. I mean, I sort of feel it just has this idea that this is a very burdensome at this time, for at least this week or longer. The idea that we're wrestling with so much, we're trying to shoulder so much between our personal lives, the parts of our personal lives that are emotional, our work lives, the parts of our work lives that are either career or vocationally oriented, our spiritual lives, the part where we try to make peace with what we think of as divinity or what we think of maybe from that more secular humanistic approach. I think spiritual people come in all sizes too, and people who don't really have belief can be very spiritual in terms of how they feel strongly people should be treated. So finally, we're going to wrap things up here with the Crow's Magic Tarot, and we're going to ask, what is our dark gift? What are the powers, intuitions, hunches, abilities, skills, however you want to know them? What are those things that are a gift to us and may be helpful in this setting? I have pulled the reverse Ace of Swords. And I want to use this as a cautionary that nothing is going to change in a dynamic way. Nothing is going to change powerfully. That sort of harkens back to here, the idea that there's a lot of work involved and it will be a bit of a burden. The dark gift may be in knowing when to plunge the sword in or when to hold back, when to show the sword for bluster or when to keep it in reserve as a fail-safe. There's a lot of different ways to look at the reversed Ace of Swords, but I'm going to say this is not necessarily the time to use the gift of engagement. This looks like the gift of non-engagement. I'm just going to say that. The gift of maybe, like I said before, keeping things in reserve. You know, a lot of people say, we have to stand up, we have to stand up. Well, we have to make sure we don't get killed either. I'm delighted that you came to Goth Tarot this week, and I hope you can take some hope from anything that I've been able to offer here. And we will see you again next time. Take care.